Hello and welcome. Today I will show you guys how to create simple rocks, stylized rocks inside of Nomad. So let's get started. When you start up Nomad, you'll see something like this. And this is fine. We'll start with this. I go to the gizmo, scale this down a bit, and I start with the move brush. The size, I keep the size pretty big because we want to change big shapes. And I start dragging it. I have symmetry on for now. Just a general shape of the first rock. And then we start cutting it, so slicing it. And to do that, I can use the trim brush. You can find it right here, trim tool. And you can choose either lasso or line. That's what I usually use. And let's see what line does. You can see my symmetry tool is still on. I want to turn that off because, well, rocks are not very symmetrical, so we don't really need that. When you drag the line tool or put it on the canvas, you see you can, I'm still holding it, by the way, putting it down. You can choose what to cut. So the dark side, or like the white side here, will be cut away, and this is the part we'll be left with. Just to show you, it works like this. Tap with 2 fingers to Control Z to go a step back, because we want to cut smaller sides. Now I want to drag the camera, but I'm not able to because I'm still stuck in the tool because he keeps cutting. So what I do is I click View, and then I can turn it around, and I can cut somewhere else. Go back to line, cut again, back to view, turn it again, line, cut. There's no right or wrong here. Maybe you have some reference that you use for this, but I currently am not. I just want some harsher lines. Oh. And of course at the bottom. Now you see that we have sort of like a general shape, I guess. Could pass as a rock, I think. But what you do see are these like jagged edges, and that's because our polygons weren't that high, not that many. So we're going to change that. But first I want to make another cut here. I see that it's a bit too round. I don't like that, so let's get rid of those edges right here. You can also see it when I click wire, and to do that I go into Voxel remeshing, and I change the resolution, so I put the resolution up pretty high, and then I click remesh. And also when we check the wireframe, you see that it's all uniform basically. I usually use the cube right here to snap left or right or top, back, front, whatever. Then I go back to move. I want to adjust the shape again a little bit. And then I think this is fine as my first start of the rock. So what I do then, I could do the same process again. I could import a cube, either a cube or a sphere. I like using spheres. You can use cubes as well, whatever you prefer. I could do that. I could import another one and do the same thing over. But what I like to do is I go here, and here you basically see all your subtools or all of your meshes. And I like to clone it. And it did clone, but it's on the same exact spot, so you have to drag it out. And then you see it. And you also see, as soon as you you selected the gizmo, you also have a clone button here. So if you don't want to go into the subtool, you can use the clone button right there. And because if you want to be smart and save some time, I'd say just turn it a bit. Nobody will notice it's the exact same rock. And if you think, well, it looks a bit too much like the other one, you can use a trim tool again. You can also use lasso, by the way, just to show you. Works a bit quicker, I feel, sometimes. But it's less straight, obviously. Let's clone it again. Right now I rotated our mesh, but and now the pivot is kind of weird, right? If you want to change that, you can go inside, you have to select the mesh, go inside pivot, and then you can align it, for example, or center, whatever. Be sure to tap it again to sort of accept it. And it makes it a lot easier to move it around. And with rocks, I feel like you always have to kind of find, if you want to make like a bunch of rocks on a little island or something, you sort of have to find a nice composition or something. Oh. You see, if I start moving it without clicking this again, then it starts moving the pivot, so make sure to accept it. Maybe a longer one, press it down a bit. Let's grab the big one again, clone it. And another tool you can use to trim the rocks is planar or flatten these brushes, and I'll show you what they do. Oh, well, I just lost my cut because I touched the screen. I need to get one of those gloves, you know. I still don't have it. But yeah, you can use flatten to flatten areas. And again, I suggest keeping the brush pretty big compared to the mesh. So you get high, like big areas that you can change. Oh, I'm moving the table so aggressively. And if you're not happy with the shape or want to change it more, again, use the move brush. Clone. Clone. And right now it's kind of hard to see where the floor is, or is everything touching the ground? Is it at the same height that I want? So I'm gonna add a cylinder or something. So I go into this icon again, I press add because I want to add something, and I'm gonna add a cylinder. Then I can change the shape a bit, and then I validate to accept it, basically. Scale it up a bit by using the orange ring on the outside. This scales uniformly. And this one scales from the top on the different axes. I don't mind if the rocks are in the ground a little bit. I mean, rocks probably are a bit in the ground. So now you see we already have kind of a little tiny environment, maybe. Another thing, we can add more details, of course. You probably want, if you want to do that, you probably want to go into Voxel remesh, turn up the resolution a bit more. Maybe this is a bit much, but whatever. Because for example, if you want to add some cracks and stuff, it can help to use a brush like crease, kind of similar to like damp standard. And the thing to keep an eye on is the invert button, because right now it's turned on, I didn't realize, but then you see it adds clay. And if I don't have that selected, it takes away clay. Right now, like it could help, for example, if you go over some edges, you can make them like extra sharp or something. But right now I want to add some cracks, so I don't want to go over my existing edges. I turn the power to full intensity. And if you think your mesh looks a bit jagged, like if you do this, it looks like pixelated or something, that means that you have to up the resolution a bit more. So then you have to go back into the Voxel remesh and add some, turn up the resolution. Or else it just doesn't have enough polygons to work with. Maybe I should change the camera angle a bit. That's better. Like a little chop off. Maybe also from this one. This really depends on the camera, how you turn the camera. So if it doesn't give the desired effect, you maybe want to turn the camera a bit. What also can be a nice thing is if you copy this one, for example. So I have it selected. Oh, let's go into the gizmo, clone it, and then if we, for example, push it to the side, you can give some sort of layered effect, if you know what I mean. So it only sticks out a little bit. We're not talking about, this is just for fun, right? It's not for any, we're not checking performance or whatever. Okay, I quite like this. Let's check my view. I have my camera, my focal length was a bit, well, extremely high. So if something looks off, sometimes check your